Welcome to Tree Talks, Talks with the Tree Whisperer. Your host, Kevin Lee from KRL Tree Service, brings a lifetime of tree work experience and a solid foundation in botany to every episode. Welcome and enjoy.
Good morning, tree lovers. It's Kevin Lee, the Tree Whisperer in Calgary, continuing with my tree talks. Okay. Our third essential organ, as you know, is the roots. You cannot have a plant without roots. You would have no ability to absorb water or the essential ions needed for to perform its chemical processes, the molecules it needs to live. And so we have to have all three in place. And just going to take a few minutes here and review the root system. So yes, major support and anchor in the soil. Okay, so weather can be severe, weather can be harsh, weather can be incredibly dangerous if you're a tree. And anyone who's watched trees for any time where they live, when those worst storms do occur, bad things happen. Major parts of the tree are shed off from the stress from the high winds or rain or snow combined with, or sometimes we will topple a whole tree and we will see it lying on the ground, its root system, half of its root system ripped and broken away, and it lies there. It's a sad thing to see, but it is interesting to see how the root system has failed during that incredible stress. And typically on the upwind side, there would be a series or enough of a strong gust that we would actually snap the major support roots, what I call the buttress, the large, heavy section of roots at the bottom of the tree. It looks just like this. My palm is the trunk, and my fingers sticking out are the major support roots, the buttress. This is where the major structure of the root system seems to really get its claw-like grip on the earth. And the rest of the root system is also very important and responsible for that support. But that buttress section is very, very important. When construction has to occur near the trunk of a tree and they get close enough where they've entered that inner circle, which would have been defined by the outer edge of my fingertips, very bad things happen. We lose support. Wood rotting tissue, fungus, enters the root very quickly, and weakness and demise, death. It is not good to get anywhere near the trunk of the tree with any kind of excavating. A lot of that is happening right now in Calgary with a lot of real push on development, and a lot of old existing neighborhoods are going through a lot of changes where all of a sudden there needs to be a foundation change right beside or close to existing old trees. And there's been lots of problems with that. So, yeah. So as I mentioned, responsible for all of the water and ion absorption out of the soil. Tree cannot live without its root system. All roots are generated from the root apical meristems. Roots can live a long, long time. The root apical meristems, of course, is at the root cap, the growing tips. And the root system is definitely as old as the trunk system. So, in fact, when the seed germinates, the first thing that comes out of the seed is called the radicle. It's the first root. Yes, the three organs are in place in the embryo stage inside the seed. So we have the radicle, we have the hypocaudal, which is the name for the early stem inside the seed, and we have little juvenile baby leaves all wrapped inside there, all ready to go. Just give me the right conditions, a little bit of water, and I will turn into a big tree if given everything I need. So the radicle comes out of the seed first. Most trees have one really big root, and you can identify that as the radicles. As I mentioned back in our session on roots, during the first year of their life, not all of them survive, but many do. And they will live and become part of the permanent ongoing system of the roots. And it's at the end of their first year where they change from a non-woody root to a woody root. They now have a vascular cambium, just like I've described in the trunk. It will grow the xylem to the inside. Growth rings occur in roots, not in the same way or in the same ratios that they do in the trunk, but they are there every year. It grows. To the outside of the vascular cambium in the roots, of course, is the phloem tissue, and outside of that is its protective, waxy, waterproof bark that helps support it. It's a very good and strong protective layer from all sorts of attacks underground, fungal, insect, etc., even animals. And it will protect the bark and the root that way. So, yeah. Roots do something really amazing at their earliest young growth tips. And that is they run into a companion fungus that we call mycorrhizae. Most plants, trees, and almost all evergreens have essential relationships with mycorrhizal fungus. What their function is from the tree's gain perspective, is that if we again, here I am pointing my finger at the camera, but if this is one little root tip and it has little root hairs on its side, okay, we have a certain amount of absorption. With the mycorrhizal relationship, it would be like we add a whole bunch of other little microstructures onto the end of the root. So what we're doing here, and sorry for the most primitive example of wagging my fingers at you, but I hope that makes the point. What we've done here with that root tip that has a certain amount of absorptive ability, when we engage with the mycorrhizal fungus, we greatly expand the surface area of the root. The mycorrhizae ties into the root, or right on the surface of the root. It has a certain cost. It asks for a certain amount of sugar to survive. That's a good trade. So I can give you a little bit of sugar. You will greatly increase my absorptive surface area, and sometimes have a relationship with different minerals and ions in the soil that will help with their absorption. So mycorrhizae is a really positive thing. There are two main types. There is ecto, and this is on the outside, and endo, where the actual fungal structure grows into the non-woody root structure near the root cap. So ecto on the outside, and they just sort of lie against the root, form up there, and endo, which actually does penetrate and literally becomes part of the root. So far, there's been over 5,000 species of mycorrhizae classified, and they are a very important relationship and connection. This is where a lot of the talk in the last few years about trees communicating, trees being in community, trees exchanging information or communication, signaling and sending sugars to one or another and back and forth, whatever's needed. A lot of that is through the connected, grafted root system. Trees of the same species and companionable species will root graft and become one. They will actually form where the contact point is. They will actually form and have a connection there. Again, the whole thing is braided together by countless mycorrhizae fibers, the hyphae and other structures of the fungus that are growing as the mycorrhizae develops. So that is a whole other subject. Pretty amazing stuff. Connections in the roots, connections in the soil, community in trees. So, yeah. One of the other main things, just like the living trunk, that larger living roots do is act as a storage area. So the living part of the root is full of axial and radial parenchyma. And this stuff, as you well know, can store a lot of sugars as a complex molecule that we call starch, can be stored for a long time, later broken down into individual sugar molecules, and then metabolized for energy through the long winters. So, yeah. That is about all I wanted to say in summary of our leaves, stem, and roots. I want to thank you very much for hanging in there. The three-organ model, as I say, is ultimately important, cannot be stressed enough, and we will speak of that in great detail as we get into what I call the how to grow section. And I think in our next episode, which is going to be number 9, it was going to be number 11, but I decided to just do a summary of leaves, stem, and roots here in number 8. So we've sort of shortened the process a little bit. But yeah, I think in number 9, in the next one, in how to grow, I'm going to dive right into the big controversial subject of pruning trees. And at that point, we will deal with lots of other subjects about how to grow, how to live with trees, how you very simply yourself, without spending a lot of money, can have really strong and healthy trees on your own property without the need for a lot of expensive contractor services. So thank you very much for listening, and I look forward to a new episode soon. Thank you very much.